Welcome to the Daily with Haley. Of course, I'm your host, Haley, and I look forward to you tuning in today to get your daily dose of encouragement. Hello, my friends. Today we're going to talk about finding God's grace in all things. So, let me just tell you about an endeavor that I recently had, and it was quite interesting, but, it was totally fine. Thankfully, it was good. It was okay. So recently I was at somebody's home, and of course, they had their dog in the crate, and I asked why, and they said, the dog was a little jumpy, so I asked for them to take the dog out, which is a normal occurrence for me because I am a huge animal lover. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats, and I would have more animals, but my wonderful husband said no more animals. I was trying to get a rabbit, but he wouldn't let me, but that's okay. So if any of my listeners have pictures or they have animals, please send them in. We would love to see your fur babies. I could talk about fur babies all day, so I'm going to get back on topic or we'll get distracted. But anyway, so finding God's grace in all things. I got bit by this dog in my face, actually. And it was an interesting experience. I was pretty banged up for a bit, but, like I said, it could have been a lot worse. I got an infection from it, and I have a little scar, but nothing too crazy. And the reason I say this is because through all of that, I noticed that the scars were on I had it, so on one of my mouth and one on my eye. And what I noticed was that the scar on my eye, I had 2 scars on my eye from it, were literally millimeters away from my eye. And when I went to the doctor, he said something about it. And when he said something about it, I kind of thought about it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like millimeters away from my face. And so at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, who was I to think that God was not protecting me? Millimeters away from my eye, that doesn't happen. That is not luck or, no. God's grace was literally all over me, covering me. And, it could have been so much worse, you guys. Literally, the bite to my mouth was internal. And so it was pretty bad, but from the outside, you couldn't even tell that anything had happened once my beautiful black eye cleared up. You can't even tell. And I got to thinking one night I was praying, and, another place I like to pray. I've talked about prayer walking in past episodes, but one thing that I really, really, really love to do is take a bath. A bubble bath all day long. I love me a bath. And a lot of times in my bath is when me and Jesus, I'll turn on my Alexa and just jam out to my worship music. And, this is one of those things that God told me during that was my grace is with you through everything. It may not look like you thought it was, or it may not feel like you thought it should, but my grace was with you. And I thought, you know what, God, you're right. Even though it happened, it could have been a lot worse. But God, but God's grace was sufficient, and it covered me. And so I encourage you that if you're going through a difficult season, a difficult time, try to find God's grace in it. Because when you do that, it is like an encouragement that you're going to get through it. God's timing is not our timing, unfortunately. I know it's hard when we're in the midst of something to say, okay, well, God, I've asked for this and I've asked for that, and it just feels like it keeps getting worse. But try to find God's grace in it. See the things that He's sustained you from. See the people that He's protected you from, prevented you from. And I promise you, when you can learn to find God's grace, even in those small things, it can completely change your outlook, not just on your situation, but in life. And I didn't share the story of my dog bite to, for people to feel bad for me. I shared it because every day I get up and I see my little tiny scar beside my eye. And I'm like, that's right. That was my God who saved my eyeball. I can see today because of God's grace. And I'm so serious. Like, I literally do this every morning. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. I can see today because you sustained me and you saved my eyeball. So, it's the little things. It doesn't have to be anything big. It's just learn to find God's grace in the small things and just watch how your relationship with God grows even more. So guys, that is it for today, but I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. Bye guys.